Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Relis Academy. A few days ago, one of my students received his TCF Canada results and I was genuinely happy when I saw them. He achieved C2 in listening, C2 in reading, B2 in speaking, and B2 in writing. For many people preparing for Canada immigration, this is exactly the kind of result they need. But what I want to share today is not just the result. I want to share the journey behind it because I believe there are lessons every TCF candidate learn from this story. Every learner's journey is different, but this story shows how consistent preparation can make a real difference. When this student came to me, his goal was very clear. He wanted to improve his French sufficiently to strengthen his immigration profile and increase his opportunities for Canada. Like many candidates, he was motivated, but he also had concerns. Interestingly, his biggest concern was not writing, it was speaking. He was afraid of making mistakes. He would often hesitate before answering questions because he wanted every sentence to be perfect. And this is something I see very often among TCF candidates. Many learners believe they must speak perfectly before they start speaking confidently. But in reality, confidence comes from practice, not perfection. I kept encouraging him to speak. I reminded him repeatedly that mistakes are part of the learning process. If you do not make mistakes, there is nothing to correct. And if there is nothing to correct, there is very little improvement. Even after writing the exam, he still had concerns. He worried about certain structures he had used during oral section. He specifically mentioned mixing up tu and vous in some situations. Like many candidates, he left the exam room replaying his answers in his mind and wondering whether he had made costly mistakes. Throughout our preparation, we focused on several important areas. First, speaking practice. We spent time discussing TCF style topics, expressing opinions, defending arguments, and improving spontaneity. Second, writing correction. Every written task was reviewed carefully. We worked on sentence structure, coherence, vocabulary choice, and common grammatical errors. Third, vocabulary building. We focused on practical vocabulary and expressions that could be used naturally in both speaking and writing. And finally, TCF exam strategies. Understanding the exam is just as important as understanding French. We worked on how to organize ideas, manage time, answer questions effectively, and approach each task with confidence. This student's success also reminded me of some common mistakes many candidates make. The first is memorizing essays. Many learners try to memorize complete texts and reproduce them during the exam. Unfortunately, examiners can usually dictate this very quickly. The second mistake is not practicing oral expression. Some candidates spend months studying grammar, but very little time actually speaking. The third mistake is ignoring corrections. When a teacher corrects an error, that correction is valuable. Candidates who improve fastest are usually those who pay attention to corrections and apply them consistently. And the fourth mistake is lack of consistency. Many people study intensely for a few days and then disappear for weeks. Language learning rewards consistency far more than intensity. So, what can we learn from this result? First, consistency matters. Small efforts repeated regularly produce significant results. Second, corrections matter. Improvement comes from identifying mistakes and working on them. Third, practice matters, especially speaking practice. You cannot become comfortable speaking French by only reading French. And finally, patience matters. Language learning is a process. Progress is not always visible immediately, but it is happening. If you are currently preparing for TCF Canada, I want you to remember something. The student whose story I shared today was not perfect. He had doubts, he made mistakes, he worried about his performance, but he kept showing up, he kept practicing, he kept learning, and eventually he achieved the results he needed. So if you are preparing for your own TCF exam, keep going. Your results could be next. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone preparing for TCF Canada. See you in the next video.